Nostalgia is a powerful emotion. Games like GoldenEye and Diddy Kong Racing were staples in my youth and ate up more time than I'd like to admit, but revisiting these iconic titles shows them for what they've become. Outmoded, dated, clumsy, relics of a lost era. But that doesn't mean old games are necessarily worse than new. When it comes to long-running series like Battlefield and Call of Duty, people often decry the newer releases and long for the good old days, as it were. And to be frank, I'm guilty of this myself. The first two Call of Duty games stick in my mind as some of the best shooter campaigns I've ever played, and the early Battlefield games provided my most memorable multiplayer experiences to date. And despite the sad state of the series in present day, I still think about those Battlefield rounds of days gone by. The wide open maps, the intense focus on teamwork, the sandbox chaos of each match as it unfolded into a unique tapestry of narrative. But what was it about the early Battlefield titles that got lost along the way? What happened to that magic? Well, PC purists have long been claiming that Battlefield 2 was the pinnacle of the series, and I'm inclined to agree. So after Aaron Sampson's recent piece claiming Bad Company 2 was the best of the franchise, I felt compelled to delve back into BF2 and see if the dolphin diving, nade spamming madness was still everything my rose-colored memory was making it out to be. And to be completely and utterly frank, this game is still fun as hell. There are so many things to love about Battlefield 2. The introduction of Commander Mode, the first appearance of squads, the feeling of being an inconsequential soldier in a massive battlefield, the wealth of classes, and most importantly the maps. Oh, the maps! Strike at Karkand, Mash Tur, Sharky Peninsula, the revivified Wake Island 2007. These massive dynamic killing fields were what made Battlefield 2 so memorable for me. You could go from holding down a terraced city block to advancing up a wide open pasture within the same minute. And each segmented piece of these maps felt independently excellent as a skirmish setting, while maintaining a balanced cohesion with the larger flow of combat. Battles felt like they had almost tangible tides that could be turned with a sneaky flag cap from the rear. You could sense that an enemy's defense had been broken as they fell back and your squad mates surged forward for a capture. And beyond that, these maps were so open. There weren't three routes you could choose to take from the spawn point toward the action. There was just the battle ahead of you and your own decision-making and skills to guide you. Creative approaches that pushed the limits were met with success instead of stifled by boundaries. Battlefield 2 is a game that rewarded players with a unique sense of freedom and therefore personal responsibility. While one man could shift the momentum of an entire match only in rare moments, this served to encourage teamwork and the cooperation of squads instead of the classic approach of grabbing a disposable aircraft on your own and parachuting into the action. Beyond that, a squad's class diversity was essential. Without an anti-tank, a single enemy in an APC could repel an onslaught. Without a medic, your expeditions into enemy territory would prove short-lived. The squad spawn also only allowed players to spawn on their squad leader, forcing whomever that was to move carefully and make tactical decisions based on group success, not personal success. This was a game that took sacrifice to win. This was a game where a squad leader would throw down an attack order and the entire squad would coalesce to capture a point as one unit. Even playing this week, I can't remember the last time I felt so much cooperation amongst a group of strangers playing a video game over the internet. However, I can't say that BF2 is everything my time-addled memories make it out to be. The grenade spam is truly life-ruining. It's depression-inducing, it's hair-pullingly awful, and is only matched by the amount of Claymore death that I was subjected to. These two explosive accessories single-handedly taint this damn near perfect game and account for more than half of my deaths. It's not that I disapprove of any means beyond bullets. The artillery strikes are either devastating or highly satisfying, depending on which side you end up on, but they never leave you feeling cheated. In addition to this, the aircraft in Battlefield are also a bit strangely balanced. The jets especially are almost too agile and powerful, but the upshot is that they seem to be made of paper. A single well-placed anti-aircraft installation can repel an aerial strike with ease, but it doesn't often feel like jets interact with the battle in a meaningful way. They just do their damage and leave a trail of butthurt in their wake. Lastly, I have to make mention of the hit detection and weapon feedback in the game. There were moments when I wasn't even sure that I had successfully killed somebody without checking the text log, and the smallest ping spike could mean that easy kills were lost in a cyclone of frustration and latency. The foggy draw distances of 2005 and often muddled textures didn't help this, and on occasion, I felt confused as to where my bullets were actually going. Battlefield 2 is one of a small handful of games that I personally consider a masterpiece. It was such an enormous leap forward from the first two titles that the difference is undeniable, and only a year after the release of Battlefield Vietnam. Almost a decade later, Battlefield 2 somehow holds up in spite of its rampant explosive spamming and dated visuals. Not only does it live on in my mind as a great game, but somehow it actually lives up to all those warm, fuzzy memories.